Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and staying safe. Welcome to another GenTech episode. Let's get into it. In this episode, I'll be talking about Google Analytics, a website platform that allows you to view metrics and other analytic data as it relates to your website or blog and the people who visit your website or blog. This presentation will be a very broad overview of Google Analytics, so I'm not going to get into a lot of the complexity. It's more for people who have not used Google Analytics before and those who are not familiar with some of the terminology. So in this presentation, I'll talk about what Google Analytics is, how it relates to how good or bad your website may be doing, how it can help you figure out what affects your website traffic, how to include Google Analytics on your own website, and of course, as always, I'll show you a brief demo showing you how to use this platform. Google Analytics is, you guessed it, a website analytics platform created by Google. It allows you to track your website traffic as well as visitor behavior and other analytic information. So by viewing this analytic information, you'll be able to derive insights relating to people who visit your website, what they're doing on your website, and how it relates to your content as well. Google Analytics is free to use, but it must be added to your website in order for you to get any kind of information or data. As I mentioned, you can use Google Analytics to uncover insights. So it'll help you answer questions such as who's visiting your site or your blog, how they're getting there. Are they coming from a social media link? Are they visiting your website at a specific time of day? How long are they spending on your website? And what content are they finding the most interesting? Before you even dive into your Google Analytics dashboard, there are a few things that you want to keep in mind. First of all, what's your website's purpose? Why are people coming to your website in the first place? What do you expect people to do on your website? Is your website just, for example, a resource where people can go to the website, get information, and then go somewhere else? Or is your website a place where you expect people to spend a lot of time reading through and shifting through all of the content that you have available? You can take this information and then you can compare it to what visitors actually do on your website. Are they doing what you expect? And if they're not, maybe there's something that you need to change or something else that you may need to keep in mind. We're going to go through a little bit of vocabulary. Google Analytics can be very overwhelming at times just because of all of the information that they kind of throw at you at once. So I'm going to kind of break it down in a way that's easy to understand. So on the Google Analytics dashboard, you'll see information regarding visitors. In the Google Analytics world, a visitor is a person who makes at least one stop on your website. So they type in the URL for your website and they go there. That's one stop. A new visitor is a first-time site visitor. So this is a person who has visited your website for the first time. A returning visitor is a website visitor who returns to your website. Now, this information is gathered by something called cookies, which identify whether or not this person has been to your website before. Sessions and page views are additional items that you'll see on the Google Analytics dashboard. A session is when someone is actively doing things on your website. So they're navigating your website, reading content, making comments. They're using your website. A page view is when a page is viewed by an individual on your website. So they may go to your website and go to, say, the About page, and they're just there. That is considered to be a page view. A session is essentially all of the activity that a user does while they're on your website. You'll also see a lot about bounce and bounce rate. So bounce is a single page session to your website. So a person goes to your website and they only view one page and then they leave. That's considered to be a bounce. Bounce rate is the percentage of how many people visit one of your pages and then leaves. So low bounce rate includes people who are visiting multiple pages on your website before they leave. A high bounce rate indicates many people are visiting one page and then they're just leaving. Typically, when it comes to website analytics, you want a lower bounce rate because that means that more people are spending more time on your website. But again, it depends on what your goals are for your own website. So say you have a website, but it only has one page. In that instance, it makes sense to have a high bounce rate because people can only go to one page, and then once they view that page, did whatever they wanted to do, they can leave. Versus if you have a website with many pages, you don't want a high bounce rate. You want people to have a low bounce rate because you want them to view all of those pages on your website. Again, you have to think about this in the context of your website. Think about what the data means for you, your website, and your goals. As I mentioned before, if you have a multi-page site, typically a lower bounce rate is good because more people are spending more time on your site. If you have a single page site, a higher bounce rate is normal because they're just viewing one page and then they're leaving. Google Analytics does have several reports bundled into it to give you some more detailed information about what's going on with your site. One collection of those reports include audience reports, which indicate who is visiting your website. So it'll give you information such as demographics, interest, geographic location, behavior, the technology someone's using. Are they using a mobile device? Are they using a computer? What's their screen resolution? What's their browser they're using? They'll also give you information about the mobile device they're using. Are they using an iOS device or an Android device? Two other report types that you'll see will be acquisition reports, which indicate how users got to your website. Did they come through from a social media link? Did they search for you in Google? Or did they just directly know your URL and go from there? Behavior reports give you insights into what visitors are doing when they get to your website. So, are they going to one page and leaving? Are they navigating to multiple pages? What pages are people viewing the most frequently? Those will be in your behavior reports. Just a few simple rules to remember, because I know this can get really overwhelming and really complex really quickly. Generally, if you have multiple pages on your website, you want that bounce rate to be lower because that means that people are spending more time reading through all of the content you have on your website. You do want to increase page views. This allows people to view all of the content that you've worked so hard to create. Another recommendation I have is to use the insights that you gain from your data to drive when to post new content, because that will help you keep the people who are coming to your website, and it'll also help you get new people to your website. So if you notice from an audience report that most people tend to visit your website at 8 p.m. at night every day, you may want to start posting your content around that same time, because then you know that people will be viewing that content more readily. So what does all of this mean? Well, as it relates to getting people onto your website, you want to make sure that you are posting consistently. People like it when there's fresh new content on the website and they know when to expect it. You want to make sure to create engaging content that people will react to and will want to comment and have discussions about. That'll drive more traffic and people will spend more time on your website. Generally, give your website visitors a reason to come back. Not only do website visitors like new content, but Google also likes new content. So you want to make sure that you're updating your website on a frequent basis because it will also help you rank in Google. Also use your social media channels. Social media is great because it allows you to refer people directly to your website. How do you get Google Analytics on your website in the first place? Well, that also kind of depends too. If you have a WordPress website, there is a WordPress plugin available that I highly recommend. It's called Monster Insights. What's great about this plugin is that it's free at its base level and it allows you to view your Google Analytics on your WordPress dashboard. So you don't have to worry about logging into Google Analytics as much. You can just log into your WordPress dashboard and see all of those insights there. It also already has reports that have been created for you. So you can create your own reports, but they have these standardized reports that are available to help you get information from your data. If you don't have a WordPress website, you can also copy and paste the Google Analytics code into your website's code. So when you're setting up a Google Analytics account, they will provide you with a piece of code that needs to go into your own website's code. This is something that you would want to leave to a web developer who knows what they're doing, so they can make sure that it goes in the correct place on your website. So as far as including it on your website and setting up Google Analytics, first off, you want to make sure that you have a Google or a Gmail account. Once you have that done, you'll sign into Google Analytics with that account. You'll set up your site property. Your site property is basically just the landing page for your website. You'll get your tracking ID. And once you get that tracking ID, it's a unique ID for your own website. You'll take that tracking ID and put it into that WordPress plugin. And then you'll be finished and you don't really have to worry about anything else. If you don't have a WordPress website, you'll want to find that Google Analytics code, copy it, paste it, and either add it to your own website or have a web developer do that for you. All right, now all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the demo and check out Google Analytics. So I'm currently on the Google Analytics dashboard for my website, digitalblackhistory.com. I can see that by looking over here on the top left. For my accounts, I'm at Digital Black History. I'm currently on the Audience Overview Report page, but as I mentioned before, there are a lot of different reports that you can view in Google Analytics. To reach those reports, you go over here on the left under Reports, and you can find the different sections. So here's Real-Time, Audience, which is what I'm currently on, Acquisition, which gives you information about how people are getting to your website, Behavior, which gives you information about what people are doing once they've gotten onto your website. And then there are also conversion reports, which I'm not really going to go into. Under the audience reports, you have more than just the audience overview page. So you have these options as well. So you could find demographic information, what people are active, what technologies they're using, so on and so forth. For now, let's take a look at the audience overview page. Here, I currently have it set for a time period of January 1st through January 31st of 2020. If I go down, I get a line graph, which indicates how many users I had during that time period. As I hover over each of these data points, it gives me information about how many users I had during that time. I can sort this information based on the time period even further. So if I wanted to look at how many users I had on an hourly basis during that month, or how many I had on a daily basis, I could do that as well. As we scroll down further, there's even more information that we can take a look at. Over here on the right, it just gives me more information about the users. So this is the same graph as what we saw up here. This graph gives me information about new users. This one about sessions. How many average sessions I'm getting per user. How many page views I had during this month. On average, how many pages per session for each user I was getting over this month. The average session duration, so how long people are spending on the site. And my bounce rate, which is relatively high. As I mentioned previously, whether or not your bounce rate is high or low, and if it's a good thing, depends on the type of website you have. For example, for digitalblackhistory.com, I only have a few pages, and most of the stuff that people are going to do on the website is on the first page. So for me, a high bounce rate makes perfect sense. At the bottom here, we also get demographic information, so I can see what percentage of my users during the month of January were using US English language, Great Britain English language, and Canadian English language. I can also sort my demographics by country, by city, browser, operating system, service provider, mobile, all of that fun information. Over here on the right, I get a pie graph of my breakdown of users. So I can see that about 87.5% of these users were new visitors during this time period, and about 12.5% of them were returning, which is good. I can also compare this information to a previous time period or to any other time period I want to look at. So to do that, you would click on this drop-down menu here. And as you can see, it's currently looking at the month of January. Check this box next to Compare To, and then choose what time period you want. So I'll click in this box here, and I'm going to go with February and click Apply. So now instead of having just one blue line in my line graph, I have an orange line as well. So I can easily compare and see where my users were increasing as it compares to those time periods. As I hover over these dots, it'll show me the discrete count of users for that time period, as well as the percent of change. At the bottom here, you'll see that these graphs have also changed. So I can quickly see over here on the right that for the month of January, those are the percentages I have. But for the month of February, I had about 83% of new visitors and 17.2% of returning visitors. So it got better in February because I was having visitors who had been to the website before returning, which is great. You'll also see additional information over here on the left, so I can see the percent change. Some of these values may not be as great, but you'll be able to see the difference in the data here. Now let's go ahead and go to the acquisition overview report. I can click on Overview. And it's going to show me the same time period. I'm just going to remove the February month so it's a little bit cleaner to see. All right, so we're looking at January again. At the bottom here, it'll show me a pie chart of the different ways people are getting to my website. So I can see about 48% of them are getting to it through a direct channel. What that means is that people are coming to my website by directly entering in the URL for digitalblackhistory.com, or they're accessing it from a saved bookmark on their browser. 40.5% of people during this time period were accessing the website through social media. So whether it was Twitter or Facebook or whatever, that's how people were getting to the website. About 10% of people were coming through an organic search. What that means is that people were finding the website by searching various keywords in Google. And then a referral is just an outside means of getting to the website. That's not social media. So people weren't entering in keywords in Google. They may have maybe found out about the website from another website. Here it does also provide a breakdown of how many users I had over that same time period. At the bottom, it'll also indicate the acquisition and the behavior for people. So for my people who got to my website through a direct means by going directly to the website URL, they had an average bounce rate of about 75.6%. For social, they had an average bounce rate of about 84%, and so on and so forth. And you can compare these values to the actual values over the course of the entire month for all users. So for people who were accessing the website directly, they had a lower bounce rate than all of the users on the website. If you compare the people who accessed the website through direct means with the people who accessed it through social media, the bounce rate for social media was higher. So that's just an interesting thing to keep in mind as I think about people who may be coming to the website. Maybe people who are accessing it through social media just find what they need very quickly and then leave the website. Or maybe it's just not what they want to go visit, so they just leave. Next, let's go ahead and move on to the behavior overview. So in the behavior overview report, I get a similar looking line graph that I got in the audience overview report, but this time it's related to page views. So when I hover over these data points, it gives me the page view counts for each day during the month of January. Again, I can change this based on if I want to view it on an hourly basis, weekly, daily, or monthly. At the bottom here, we have some other small graphs. So this will show me the total number of page views. This is the same graph that's at the top here. Again, page views are the total number of pages that are viewed by a visitor to your website. You also get unique page views, which are the number of sessions during which the specified page was viewed at least one time. So you have the chart for that here. You also get the average amount of time that's spent on a page, the bounce rate percentage, and the exit percentage. The exit percentage is the number of exits divided by the number of page views for that page or set of pages within your website. Basically indicates how often or how frequently people are going to exit from that page whenever you view that page. At the bottom of the screen here, it gives me some indicators as far as what pages people are viewing most frequently. So for me, this is my root directory on my website. What this means is this is the homepage for digitalblackhistory.com. So most people are going to the homepage of digitalblackhistory.com. That's where about 66% of my page views are coming from. I also have another website that is linked to digitalblackhistory.com called Unlock the Records, and it's located at this URL here. And that's where about 18.4.5% of my page views are coming from. I can also see when people are accessing about pages, frequently asked pages, frequently asked question pages, and so on and so forth. If I click on page title, it'll tell me what the title of those pages are. If I go back to the top of the screen, I can actually view these charts in more detail by clicking on them. So if I want to look at bounce rate in more detail, it'll change it to be the line graph that's at the top of the screen here. And by hovering over these data points, I can view more information. So this was a very, very brief overview of the reports that are in Google Analytics. I hope that this gives you some idea of some of the insights that you can glean from your data as it relates to your website. I strongly encourage you, if you have Google Analytics already set up on your website, definitely go ahead and go in, check out the reports, and view some of these more detailed reports to see what information you can glean. By going under each of these sections for your reports, you can find so many valuable pieces of information to give you some ideas as far as how to get people coming to your website and how to keep them there. And that's it for this episode. See you next time.